Well, very happy now to be joined after a long time off on my part with Massachusetts Senate Minority Leader Bruce Tarr. And Senator Tarr, welcome back as I guess we're into summer now. So how are you doing?
Well, I'm doing well, and despite some of the temperatures lately, Rick, I think officially we're into summer, and
Okay.
it's good to be back with you. It's been a little while, but it's always good to spend a little time with you, and I hope you're doing well also.
I am, and I appreciate that. I've got a fire pit out in the back, and we've been in the morning going out having coffee and putting a fire on because it's in the pit. That's another story. Senator, a very touchy topic. We have to start, if you don't mind, with the results of today's activities, I guess, from Washington, D.C., and maybe your reaction and Massachusetts' reaction.
So I'm concerned with today's decision, Rick, and I think that's probably a discussion for another day, but I think the most important thing is that as a result of today's Supreme Court decision, in a number of states in this country, laws will now be valid that severely restrict rights of access to reproductive rights and to abortion. And while we can't get into all of those right now, the important thing to understand is that in Massachusetts, those rights are protected by the Constitution and by our statutes. So the thing that we have to be concerned about is if one of those states where the laws are not of that nature tries to do something to a medical professional in our state. And so Governor Baker this afternoon issued an executive order, which is very similar to a piece of legislation that's pending, that's in the Senate version of the budget, which essentially says that if someone from another state comes here to get access to those reproductive health care items or procedures, that we are going to protect our Massachusetts providers, because according to our laws, what they're doing is absolutely legal. And so this executive order says, to a great extent, we will not extradite someone if another state tries to prosecute them, and we will not allow them to be the subject of a legal action by one of those states that would be punitive toward them. Basically, it says we're going to protect our professionals that are obeying our laws, and that we aren't going to allow the laws of other states to encroach on what we have enacted and what we believe in.
In your tenure as a member of the Senate over the years, has there been a conflict like this before between the federal government and Massachusetts?
You know, I'd have to think about that, Rick. Not one comes to mind immediately, but I think it might have been the case. But this is certainly the most significant one that I've seen, where we have the Supreme Court basically saying that in the federal Constitution, there isn't a right of privacy, and what follows from it is a right to abortion, and the Massachusetts Constitution being so clearly in a different direction and so clearly opposed to that. So this is fairly significant. I'm sure that we may have seen other issues over time, but I can't think of one as significant as this.
Well, I thank you for taking the time to broach that subject with us. I know it's delicate, and we don't usually get into stuff that deep, but so I do appreciate it, Senator. I want to go to next. You have a criminal justice bill that you'd like to mention, or that's?
I would, Rick. So the Senate this week was poised to take up a couple of criminal justice bills, and we did take up one criminal justice bill, and that one has to do with simplifying the process and strengthening the process for juveniles that are subject to bail proceedings, to make sure that we can use teleconferencing. We eliminated the $40 bail fee for juveniles. We made it clear that a juvenile whose parent or guardian pledges to guarantee their return to court does not have to post bail. So a series of pretty common sense things. And we did move forward with that one. But there are two others that I actually laid on the table. I put on hold because they need more work. And one of them has to do with civil asset forfeiture, which simply put involves prosecutorial agencies seizing assets that are involved with the commission of a crime. And we need to make sure that that's done properly. And we need to make sure that if those assets are retained by a police department or a district attorney's office, that they're used appropriately. And they're used for many different things, for training and for equipment and things of that nature. But there's been some concern raised about accountability for how they're spent and how they're used. And we're going to work on that again next week. The second bill that's important has to deal with juvenile diversion. And you may recall, this is the process where a juvenile, generally someone under 18, and most often either between 12 or 14 and 18, commits a crime. But the path for them does not appear best in the criminal justice system. It appears perhaps better in it going down another path. And so they're allowed to be diverted. Right now, the district attorneys do that. The courts would also like the ability to do that on their own. And that's an idea that has merit, but we need to work on it. We need to make sure it's clear what crimes are amenable to this process and eligible for it, and what crimes are not. So I also put a hold on that bill, and I think we're probably going to take it up next Wednesday after we've had time for discussion over the next several days. And hopefully we'll come out in a place where I can help to bring about consensus.
Wow. Okay, the deep stuff. And I have a lot of questions, but I'll save those for another day because we're approaching a holiday coming up here. And I want to ask you about something, I don't want to call it frivolous, but maybe a little bit more fun. Gloucester has its St. Peters Fiesta back. The crowds are there. The weather is pretty good. What's your involvement in that, Senator? Do you have any dealing with that? Do you have any official or unofficial capacity?
Well, I would say, Rick, it's definitely a more festive subject. And the Fiesta obviously is an important part of our lives on Cape Ann, and it also is very important to the commercial fishing industry. Folks should be aware that St. Peter is the patron saint of commercial fishing, or fishing. And so that's how the tradition started. And by the way, it started 95 years ago. This is the 95th annual St. Peter's Fiesta this year.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I am thrilled to be involved with it, at least to some extent. So tonight is the opening of St. Peter's Fiesta. As we know, it actually started a couple of days ago. There were activities there since Wednesday night. But tonight is when we officially open the Fiesta, and I get to give some remarks. And those remarks will be partly in English, but Rick, they'll also be partly in Italian. And this is keeping a tradition that I've maintained since I was first elected to the House of Representatives. And I will show you, this is the remarks are here and they're ready. And I generally go through a process with this where I write what I want to say, and my good friend Corrado Busheri helps me to do the translation. And then he and I spend a few hours going over it so that my pronunciation is correct. And I'm deeply grateful to him for helping with that. So that will be tonight. And actually, we have another practice session just in a little while. And then on Sunday, I will participate in the procession for the Fiesta, which is also important. And then unofficially, like everyone else, I like to get onto Pavilion Beach and watch the seine boat races and the greasy pole contest. And somewhere in there, Rick, there might be an Italian sausage and a piece of fried dough. But I don't want to say that yet.
I was going to say Ambies is out of business now, so I don't know where you're going to get that, but I hope you do.
Well, I'm sure there may be another vendor there. I miss Ambi, but I think we might be able to find some.